spooky scholars, and welcome to our very first episode of Screamology, your masterclass in horror. My name is Nemo, and I will be your professor going forward. I'm so happy to have you here, and I hope that you enjoy the podcast and learn a little bit more about this amazing genre along with me. As a quick intro, I'd like to explain an overview of how the podcast will be organized so that way you know what to expect. We will start with our first semester, aka season, and it's going to be Horror 101. I'd like to give my students a horror toolkit in order for you to be able to analyze these movies with me going forward. This particular semester will last about 2 months, which is not the norm for our other future seasons, but I do think that having a baseline knowledge will help you to be able to understand horror a bit better and also to learn that there is so much more to horror than just jump scares and blood. The following semesters will each last approximately 1 to 2 months, just depending on what we're going over that month. And following this first semester, we're going to be going through the eras of horror, popular horror franchises, and even the subgenres of horror. The typical setup will be that the first week of the month will be a general overview of our topic for that season, and the next 3 weeks of the month will go over a different movie each week in depth, with spoilers, as we will be going over the complete plot, as well as a deeper analysis of the elements that make up the movie, such as the use of color, sound design and score, and also a list of all the kills in chronological order. After we finish our genre seasons and go through most of the subgenres, we will continue on in future months just doing 4 movies, one each week of a particular subgenre that we have already discussed, and then we're just going to move those episodes into their respective subgenre folders. Each week, we'll also have a new or returning guest to chat with us, and I will be having the full episodes uploaded to both YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Music are just a few examples. I'll upload short-form content on all of our social media platforms, namely TikTok and Instagram for the most part. And I also plan on setting up a Discord server soon so that we can all come together and talk all things spooky. Now, on to our very first episode where my friend and recurring co-host, Chuck, will be going in-depth all about ourselves, our favorite horror movies, and our relationship with horror. I hope you enjoy! Hello everybody, welcome to Screamology. This is going to be our episode 1, and I'm joined here by my friend Chuck. He's a fellow horror enthusiast, Twitch streamer, and artist as well, so he's probably going to come by multiple times on the podcast, so I figured I'd have him here for episode 1. Is there anything else you want to add that I missed about yourself before we get going?
Yeah, follow Nemo's podcast. Follow Screamology.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll start getting more listeners once the podcast is actually put on, actually released. But yeah, hopefully everyone's going to enjoy. So basically for this first episode, it's just going to be almost like a introduction to me as a host and also to Chuck as a host because he'll be here often. So we're just going to talk about our favorite spooky stuff, pretty much. So my first question I thought we could go through is, when did you first get into horror and what's your relationship with horror? And then I could say mine.
So I'm kind of like, I'm raised in it. My mom loved, I say loved, like she's dead. My mom loves horror movies. She's been a fan of horror movies as long as I can remember. So she, would put them on like Saturday mornings. Like while me and my brother were doing whatever we were doing, she would put horror movies on, and then it just kind of became a thing. That was how I started getting into horror. But then, reading artwork, it all just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, I could agree.
Video games.
How old were you when you started actually, like, for sure liking it yourself?
Probably like 12, 13.
Okay.
Like when I really started like branching out into, I like this stuff and not what you're watching,
Yeah. Having your own
I got really obsessed
preference
with zombies for a long time.
Okay, I can appreciate a good zombie movie. And I really like Walking Dead, so, I think when I first started liking horror, like real horror, was probably when I was, 11, 12, 13, kind of like you. I think I've been really liking spookiness for as long as I can remember, since I'm like an October baby and I love Nightmare Before Christmas, and I read Goosebumps growing up and all that kind of stuff, which isn't like real scary horror, but I think it was like building blocks to get me there.
I,
Pretty much.
I it may not be spooky horror, like it may not be like scary, but
Yeah.
it had a vibe to it. Like, do you remember the show Are
Yeah.
You Afraid of the Dark that was on
Yes.
Nickelodeon?
I watched
Yeah,
that.
like that. I was
Yeah.
obsessed,
Me
obsessed.
too. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was big into Goosebumps, and I think there was like a Goosebumps show. I don't remember if it was episodes, if they were like little made for TV movies, but I used to watch those too. How about what do you, and this is actually something I'll go into deeper in a later episode too, but what do you consider horror? Like what exactly is horror to you when you think of it?
I think anything that puts you outside of your normal comfort area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it
Oh
doesn't have
yeah.
to be. And I don't mean like going out and trying a new
Right.
food or anything like that. I mean like anything that makes you feel not safe where you're at.
Yes.
You
That's a
know
good
what I mean? Like,
answer.
and there's more to it than that. There's the psychological outlook on it and everything, and there's, people love being scared. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean not safe in a bad way. I
Right.
mean not safe as in like people just love being scared. It's the adrenaline that comes with it. That's what I think anyway.
I agree. I think that's a great answer. Yeah, I think like you said too, there's so many different facets of it that there's some different ways to like look at horror, but I think not feeling safe is a good way to put it, basically. Because in my later episode talking about like what is horror, you could say it's like something that just makes you scared. But I think there's definitely a lot of things that aren't necessarily going to make you have nightmares, but it's still horror. So I think that's where it goes into you not necessarily feeling safe, things feeling just off or like uncanny, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What's something about spooky stuff that totally fascinates you, or like why does it draw you in so much?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think it was an outside the mainstream thing that I could be interested in when I was growing up. I was very much not a go play kickball with your friends. I was a
Yeah.
read a book and watch zombies eat people kind of, you know what I mean? Like I
Oh
was
yeah.
the weird kid that used to get picked on a lot. So I really embraced outside of normal mainstream culture things for, kids my age.
Right. I
So
can
that's
agree.
why I was drawn to it, because it
Yeah.
seemed like something that, the people that I did not
Yeah.
like. So
Oh, perfect. Yeah, you don't have to worry about them coming in and encroaching on that. Yeah, I think kind of same with me. I also was, I guess you could say emo back then as a teenager. But I was part of that kind of subculture as well. So it was just kind of something that everybody liked, and then I started watching them and I was like, "Ooh, I kind of like them too."
right,
And the thing that I think is interesting too is people outside of the horror community are like, oh my gosh, those people are scary or they're weird or whatever. But honestly, they're like the nicest people that I know. That I know, anyways. I'm part of this one horror forum. It's called Midnight Monster Club. And basically, everybody on there is like so, so nice. So I feel like people on the outside would be like, oh, look, they're all wearing black and they're scary and they like watching people die on the movies and stuff. But it's like the farthest thing from the truth when you actually like meet people who are really into horror. And I think
right.
that's kind of funny.
Yeah, no, that it's fitting in it's such a juxtaposition from the way people look to the way they act.
It is. It's crazy.
I like that.
I agree. I think that's also kind of what something that helps kind of draw me into this community too is that everybody's nice and like welcoming, and it's like kind of like community family vibes where you kind of wouldn't expect that, but it is that. So I like that. And the fact that there's so many different types of horror movies, but yet everybody's like accepting of what it is that you like.
no one's like, oh my God, you like slashers?
Right.
Ew.
Ew, that's trash.
How
Yeah,
dare
no.
you?
I don't really I don't belong to any forums or anything like that because I'm not always a super social person, but I've never experienced that, but I have experienced that, and like I always think that the worst thing about any kind of fandom that you're in is the actual fans of the thing that
Right.
you're enjoying. So
Yes.
like that's something I've never experienced in the horror fandom is somebody being like, "Well, you're not allowed to like that because XYZ," like
Right. Exactly. Well, I think like uh someone else could be like, "Oh my God, you liked Human Centipede? What is wrong with you?" And then someone else would be like, "Well, I didn't." Someone in the horror community would be like, "Maybe I didn't really love Human Centipede, but it's fine."
Right, it's not everything is for everybody.
Right. I think that's interesting about horror films in general is that there's so many different subgenres because say romantic comedies, there's not really so many different ones that you could different styles, I guess, that you could like. But in horror, there's so many different subgenres. There could be something for really anybody. I mean, even someone who doesn't like getting scared, there's like horror comedies that are not really scary but have
Right.
horror themes, but they're funny. So
Some of
that's
the
what I like about it.
some of my favorite horror themed movies are the comedy ones, like like
Right. Yeah,
Zombiever, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, stuff
that's a
like
great
that.
one.
Like I love
Yeah.
those movies.
I know they're so funny. Even if you're not super into horror, like if you watched the scary movies, maybe like the original ones, probably the first two, maybe the third one, but they're kind of funny to watch even if you don't like scary stuff, but you know,
Right.
they're funny. What about, here's a good one, it's important. What is your favorite scary movie? Which is going to be really hard. For me, it's really hard. I have like a million, but yeah.
I
I
genuinely
can't.
I agonized when you sent me the list of questions you were going to talk about. I agonized over the answer for that, and I still cannot think of one. Like I
Yeah, it's
don't have
hard.
I have things that I love more than others. Like I will watch Gremlins any day of the week.
Yeah.
I could sit down, or like The Lost Boys. I could watch that any day of the week.
Yes.
And it's not because I love those movies specifically, it's that era of movie
Right.
making that I really liked. So
Those are good
I
movies, so.
cannot think of a favorite. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, it's very hard. I was pretty much just gonna say Scream is my favorite, but it's hard to say because there's other things that I like just as much, but Ghostface is my favorite, so I'm just gonna go with Scream.
Well, but
It's like a good comfort
that's a
movie. I could watch it
character
again.
though. That's your favorite
True.
character, so it
True.
doesn't hurt for that to by default be considered your favorite movie.
Yeah, but I'd have to say my other kind of very top, one of my top favorites, which I didn't know until I started listening to other horror podcasts, but I guess it's kind of like a divisive movie within horror, or I guess divisive director, I could say, but I really like House of a Thousand Corpses, and I guess not everybody likes Rob Zombie horror movies. I personally do, but I didn't realize that like there's a lot of people who don't like them. So, but that's one of my favorite ones. I've seen like a million times too. So,
I've watched it. I've watched it. I enjoyed it. I can't think of the name of the one that comes after that.
oh,
Like I
Devil's
know there's
Rejects.
other ones. What?
Devil's Rejects.
Okay, so I've watched Devil's Rejects. I enjoyed it. I have a unique ability to watch things outside of my brain. Like I can sit down and watch something and enjoy it for what it is without overthinking it. Which
Right.
is,
Yeah.
and I know this isn't a Star Wars podcast, but
Yeah.
that's why I don't interact with a lot of Star Wars fandoms because like I have the ability to separate my brain from what I'm watching. So
Right.
I enjoy Rob Zombie personally. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. I think too, it's like, I know, and this is for like anything. Sometimes there's, kind of people who might be like, so I personally also like Rob Zombie's remakes, or not necessarily remake, but his Halloween movies. And a lot of people don't like them because they were like, oh, you're trying too hard to make this backstory of Michael Myers. It's so different from the originals. But to
Is it though?
me, I don't know. I kind of
Yeah, I
like
don't
it. I
think it
mean, maybe
was. I
the
don't think it
mask
was
is a
all that
little
different. I
different.
think people are trying too hard to be counterculture. Like,
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, I mean, I liked it, so I don't know. I like the original Halloween a lot, but I also really liked Rob Zombie's ones. I like went and saw them in theaters. I own them. I've watched them a million times. So I was like, I don't know, I like them. So sorry.
I haven't owned a
um,
movie in so long.
I know I do have a lot of horror movies that I bought. I guess most of them are DVDs, I think, and some Blu-rays, but they're like put away because I just stream everything. I don't even put discs into
Right.
anything anymore. So I was like, I'm not gonna get rid of it because I spent money on it, but I'm just gonna stream it if I want to watch it. Okay, let's see. What's your favorite subgenre of horror? Or you could have I mean, a couple favorites that are higher than others, we could say, not necessarily one.
I cut my teeth on slasher movies, and they're always going to be my favorite. Like
Yeah.
like my that's what my mom would watch is Friday the 13th, like those
Classic.
movies and like
Classic.
the Halloween movies, because it was always on like those weird we show old movies that nobody
Oh,
wants
right.
to watch
Yeah.
channels. You know what I mean? So that's what she would
Totally.
put on. And yeah, so I cut my teeth on slashers, and I
Nice.
will watch them till the day I die.
Oh yeah, I feel that. I'm very, very partial to slashers, especially, I mean, I really love being like scared out of my pants, but slashers, they don't scare me, but they're fun. They're like so fun to
Right,
watch. I love all the
right.
kills and all that stuff. So, and then I also really like, I don't know, I really do like really gory movies. So it doesn't necessarily have to have an amazing storyline, but if the kills are fun, then I'm having fun. So I like movies that fuck with your mind though. That will scare me sometimes when I'm like, okay, this shit is fucking trippy. What the fuck is going on? But then one of the things that I kind of learned over time, like with watching scary things, is I like not knowing what the scary thing is sometimes, because sometimes when they show you the monster at the end, I was like, wow, that's so dumb. Why was I even scared this whole movie? Like, is it Insidious or whatever, where the thing at the end, it has like little hooves and all, it's like a demon or whatever, and it has hooves. And I was like, the whole movie, I'm like, oh my god, this is so scary. And then at the end, they show the demon thing. I'm like, that thing is so not scary. Oh my god. So like sometimes I like when they don't show you the monster because that kind of ruins the scare factor for me
You know who does
sometimes.
a really good job at taking the piss out of stuff like that is, have you ever watched Mystery Science Theater?
No, I've seen it on my streaming thing. I've never actually watched it.
You should really watch. Even some like the older ones have a lot of horror movies in them, and they're not all horror movies. A lot of them are like sci-fi movies, stuff like
Right.
that. Like the remake had Mac and Me in it. I don't know if you remember that movie or not, but
Mm-mm.
like those movies, and then like another series that the people who created those came out with was called Riff Tracks. It's
Oh
harder to
no.
find, I guess.
Okay.
But like those movies take a good job at, like, they do a really good job at taking the piss out of really stupid parts of
Yeah.
movies that, like you said, like that you were like, well, why was I scared at that?
Yeah.
Like yeah. So yeah, I agree. It's
All right, yeah, I'm gonna
there
have to look into that.
yeah, you should. You really should.
Yeah, I think the mystery of what's scary, and sometimes you could think of whatever you're imagining in your head is the scary thing, might be more scary than, what it really
Yeah.
truly is. What's a subgenre that you would maybe want to explore that you haven't actually really, taken too many movies out of?
I don't watch a lot of psychological horror. Or and so I'm bad at like separating things into subgenres.
Yeah.
Like I know what zombie movies are, I know what
Right.
slashers are, stuff like that. Outside of things like that, I don't really know how to categorize things. But I don't watch things that trigger my personal trauma.
Right.
Or I try not
That's
to, because
understandable.
like that's not fun for me. You know
Right,
what I
exactly.
mean?
That's not entertaining. You want to have fun while you're watching it. I can understand that.
Or like respectfully, like my girlfriend watches movies. We watch movies together all the time. So it's like I try not to choose things that I know are going to be like what was it, The Last House on the Left?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it? But I think that was the name of it. Like that made her uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
I try not to watch things like that, but then I don't ever think to watch them by myself because I'm just
Right.
gonna flip to the first thing that looks fun,
Right,
So like
exactly.
I would like to explore psychological horror more.
I
Will I
think
ever? Who knows?
yeah, right. Well, when you have some time or time that's just you watching, I suggest it because I personally really love psychological horror. I like things that like kind of fuck with your mind because to me, the whole movie, I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? And some of them even they kind of like make you question if you're even understanding what's happening. Is what's happening what I think is what's happening? I don't know. I like it. It's that whole
So
like
if you
uncanny
if you
thing.
could give a suggestion to somebody who doesn't know a lot about psychological horror, what would you suggest they use as like an introductory?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, have you ever watched Hereditary?
No.
You should
Nope.
watch that one. It's actually really
It didn't
scary.
ring any bells in my head, so I may have, but I don't remember it if I did. So
It's a good one, and that one is very mindfucky, and I don't necessarily know if it's the best, as in like step your toes in for the first time, but it is very good and it is very
okay,
scary. So, but I do suggest that movie to anyone who hasn't seen it.
nice.
Ooh, this is a good one. What's a scene from a movie that has stuck with you forever since you've seen it?
In the original recording of it, where Pennywise grabs Georgie's arm and the camera rotates his head and his mouth opens to show all the teeth.
Oh yeah.
Like it's right at the very beginning of the movie. I watched that movie for the first time when I was 6 years old. It was 1986 when I was 6 years old, so that can't be right. I was very young when I watched that, though.
Izzy Izzy just watched it actually for the first time at her summer camp at her summer camp a couple days
I hope
ago.
it was the old one.
It was. And she's literally only about to turn 7. So like the day before they showed it, her jujitsu coach was like, "Is it okay? We're gonna watch it." All the kids voted for it. I was like, "It's fine. She can watch it." And I was like, "Oh," she was like, "It wasn't as scary as I thought it would be." I was like, "Yeah, well, if you watch the new one, you would be more scared." But I was like, "What's the scariest part for you?" And it was Georgie going into the sewer. So she was like,
Yeah,
that was the one part I was really scared. I was like, it's understandable.
that scene just it's one of my favorite images from
Yeah.
like I almost made it my transfer screen when I'm streaming, like
That
when I
would be
switch.
awesome.
Yeah. When I switch scenes, I almost made it that because it's like my favorite. I just don't play enough horror stuff on
Right.
when I stream, so I can't justify it in my brain.
Well, hey, maybe if you do, like spooky streams in October or something, you could have it be
Right.
the transfer during that.
Yeah.
I'd have to say so have you watched The Ring?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of
Okay,
course.
okay. Just making sure so you know what scene I'm talking about. So the scene that sticks with me forever because The Ring was probably one of the first really scary movies I watched when I was younger was when I think it's like at the funeral of the cousin or whatever who dies at the beginning and her mom was like explaining to Naomi Watts' character, "Oh yeah, we found her," or however they found her or whatever, and it jump scares you into her fucking face in the closet and it's all like decayed and her face all open like she was screaming. And
That's a good
that
one.
has
Yeah.
stayed with me forever and
Yeah.
ever. And every time I watch it, because I've watched it a lot, and every time I watch it, I literally am squinting as I know that part's coming up because I'm just like, fuck, it's so scary. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a
that
good one.
one, yeah, it's like stuck with me forever and ever and ever and ever. And yeah, so I didn't have full on nightmares from it, but literally, I think I was probably like 13 or something. I don't even know when it came out, but whenever it came out, and then it was out to be on DVD or whatever, and we were watching it with my friends. And literally, at that time, you could still sometimes have TV static on your regular TV. And so that shit was scary. And one of my friends, I'd sleep over at her house all the time. And the TV that she had in her room was like old because her parents were like, okay, you can have the old shitty TV in your room. And like at a certain time at night, it would become fucking fuzzy static. we'd spend the night, and then I'd wake up and it was like that, and I'm like, oh my fucking God. Why? So yeah, I feel like people now wouldn't even fully get why that's scary because you don't really have staticky TV, but at that
Yeah, no, it
time,
definitely it was a nice touch in the movie
yeah.
though, and then like because
Oh yeah.
it was something that was still on, like they did it in Exorcist also.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
So, it's just one of those things that like it triggers something in your brain like I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I forget, it was in a different podcast that I was listening to, I think, or maybe it was just like a YouTube video, but people were talking about how when you're watching The Ring, one of the things that makes you feel so uncomfortable about it, especially with the staticky TV, because at that time, that could actually happen on your TV, but also the fact that they show you the scary video that you're going to die. And so even though you're watching it in the movie, in your mind, you're like, okay, but now I watched the video.
Right.
So, like, am I going to fucking die in 7 days?
Yeah,
Like, at least as a teenager, you're like, okay, I know it's in the movie, but I also watched it now. So now I'm scared.
Yeah,
So
it's a
it's
great.
kind of
It was.
like,
It,
yeah.
I mean, that movie is just great all around, in my opinion. So, like, that was
It is.
a great addition to it because it's layered
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah, and I love the blue tone of the movie, just the color palette in the movie. It's very creepy. And I had never actually seen the original Japanese one, Ringu, until like a couple months ago. It's I would say that it's a pretty faithful adaptation to make like the English version. It's very similar, but I almost like the English version a little bit better. It could just be because that's the one I've seen and I had nostalgia for it maybe, but the original's pretty good too, but I do like the remake a little bit better.
I love original Japanese horror, but having to read subtitles takes me out of
Yeah.
the scariness of it. Yeah, like I can watch them and appreciate it for what it is, but as soon as I have to start concentrating on reading, it's just not scary to me anymore.
Yeah. Well, especially, I mean, maybe less so in older movies, but stuff that's current. You know, sometimes the scary stuff is something weird in the background. You only notice it after you're watching the scene for a while. And so if I'm reading words, sometimes
You miss the
I'm missing the creepy
background
guy in
stuff.
the
Yeah.
window or something. Yeah. So
Yep.
I can agree that can kind of take you out of it a little bit, especially when there's very subtle spooky things. What's a horror trope that you love, even though some people might consider it like kind of cheesy?
Old monster movies, like old black and white monster movies. I love them. I love
No,
them
they're good.
so much. It's where everything started. Not necessarily
Oh
like,
yeah.
and I understand silent film came before the black and white
Right.
monster movies, and but like for me in my brain, like all of the current, I say current, I guess maybe not current, but like when I first started getting into horror, if they were ever going to like a drive-in to see a movie, it was always, Dracula, the creature from the Black Lagoon, something like that. So it made me want to watch those.
Yeah.
And they're not scary.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they're not scary, but they interest me as like I can see why it would be scary for people who are watching it
In the
then.
40s or 30s. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think
So,
Creature from the
old
Black
monster
Lagoon I
movies.
watched when I was pretty young too. And I remember not being like you said, it's not scary, but it's just like the horror icons, I guess you could say. Anyways,
Yeah.
even if it's not like gonna make you have nightmares, but at that time, maybe people did have nightmares about it.
Well, I mean, if we go back to the original, what was it? I think it was Creature from the Black Lagoon or Frankenstein or Wolfman. One of those was what they went to see at the movie theater when he spills the soda on Stan. No,
Right,
not
right,
Stan.
right.
The hoodlum kid there.
Right.
I
I
can't
forget
think
the
of it.
names of everybody.
Yeah, I do.
Forget the
I'm
names.
bad with names. Like I can't remember my own name half the time. So
I feel it. I'm really bad with names. uh, what's a horror trope that you actually hate, like in scary movies?
gore for gore's sake.
So like Terrifier.
Exactly the movie I thought of when I came up with that answer.
Yeah.
I don't see the hype.
Yeah.
I just didn't like it. But it's just because like I don't mind gore, right?
Yeah.
But there's no villain development in Terrifier to me. The
Right.
original Terrifier, like
Yeah.
when the first one that came out. I haven't even watched the third one yet.
It's okay.
So, but like, there's no in the first Terrifier. There's no monster or villain development. It's just gory shit to be gory
Right.
shit. So I
He's
couldn't
so
get.
weird, dude,
I like
chopping people up.
I like the concept of Art the Clown. I think
Right.
he would be a great monster villain for horror movies, but I just didn't like the movie, and I don't like. It's the same with the Saw movies. I was never
Right.
really into the Saw movies also either, because to me they were just gore for gore's sake, and they never really stayed true to anything throughout
Right.
the entire line of the movies,
Yeah.
because they would just be like, "Oh no, he wasn't dead. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't ask
Right. Yeah.
questions."
Yeah, if you're gonna like have so many movies, but then there's a lot of plot holes and confusion, then it doesn't make that much sense.
Right.
Like, I like the original Saw movie, but I will say it's been a really long time since I've watched it, so maybe I would change my mind if I watched it again.
The
Because
original one is the only one without plot holes.
So then that makes sense. Maybe that's why I liked it. But yeah, I think I didn't continue on with it. But of course, like later down the line, I'll cover Saw, so I'll probably force myself to watch them. But yeah, I think I just lost it at a certain point with that.
Yeah.
I did like Terrifier, and I don't know if it's just I watched I think it's called All Hallows Eve before, where Art is officially the first time you see Art. It's like a little small part of that anthology movie, and then so I was like, oh, he's such a cool character. And then I did like the first one. I think it was just because it made me think, it kind of reminded me of slashers a little bit, but then like kind of B-movie gore part of it. So I thought it was fun. But then like when I watched the second one, I kind of didn't like that it kind of went in like a supernatural way, because a reason why I like slashers, and there are some supernatural slashers, of course, but I do like the idea that they're just a person killing someone and not, okay, you're like a weird spooky ghost or something. I don't know. So when in the second one they kind of went into more like a supernatural direction, I kind of at the end I was like, that kind of ruined it for me. But the third one, it was okay. It's like the kills are fun. I don't know if I like it much for any type of plot or story, which there really isn't one. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, like just because it's not for me doesn't mean it's not good. It's
exactly,
just not what I like,
Yeah, and you should have fun when you're watching it. If it's like me, I don't as much like body horror stuff, so I will still watch it and probably still be entertained, but I'm just like, no, like, I don't know if you've ever seen Malignant, but that one,
Yeah.
it was kind of one of those ones where
that's the one with the, I can't really say it because for anybody that hasn't seen it, I don't want to ruin it.
We'll just say spoiler alert right here, and then people can cut forward a little bit if they want to.
Okay, so that's the one where the lady has like the face in the back of her head.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And see, that was the thing where like it was scary.
The Voldemort movie, yeah.
Yes, and then as soon as the reveal for that, I was like, oh my god, I want to turn the movie off now. But I still finished it. But and then I recently watched The Substance. I did like that movie, but the body horror in that was also kind of like, I'm not as into it, which is weird because I like gory stuff, but body horror is kind of weird to me. So I don't enjoy it as much.
That. So I haven't watched The Substance yet, but I think like a lot of what I love is like B-rated horror. So
yeah.
like I just like new stuff that comes out that's not campy and stupid.
Yeah.
I don't always watch it. So
right. I mean, I recently went maybe like a month ago or so. I went through all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and some of them are so horrible, but they are funny. So I still had
Dream
fun
Warriors
watching
should
them.
not have been a movie.
Right. And I think it was it? I think it was maybe in the second one where his tongue becomes really long or his tongue comes out of the phone. I forget. But I was just like, oh my God, it's
I
so
know
dumb.
the
But it
scene
was,
you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. But I was just like, this is so bad. But I was like, it's still funny. I'm still gonna watch it.
Yeah.
So, it's like you like it for different reasons, not because I'm scared, but it is entertaining.
Right. Well, so to me, Nightmare on Elm Street in general, like the first one was meant to be scary, and
Right.
then they took it in like a comedy horror direction after that. Which
Yeah,
I mean,
totally
not
different.
heavy on the comedy, but like a little bit silly,
Yeah.
you know?
Some of his one-liners are you're like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
It was very much in my brain, like they never thought they would make a second, third, fourth, fifth one. They just made a
Right.
cool movie, and then they were like, "Well, people loved this. What can we do next?" You
Yeah,
know?
where else can we go with this?
Yeah. So like, it doesn't like again. I loved them. That's actually the answer to the next question. So.
Yeah. Well, perfect way to segue into that. Basically your favorite horror movie
Yeah,
franchise, which
it's Nightmare on Elm Street because it was the first horror franchise that I watched. I picked the movie, like I
right,
picked the
yeah.
movie. We went, nobody knows what Blockbuster Video is anymore, but it was
I
Friday
know. Oh
night
my
and we went to
God.
Blockbuster and I wanted to rent Nightmare on Elm Street, and like I fell in love with Freddy Krueger's like the Freddy Krueger character, and then I just loved them. Now that I'm not 12 or whatever I was when that movie came out. Like now I watch them and it's like a nostalgia pop, and it's like nostalgia and still funny and still scary. Like I still jump scare every now and then if
Comfort
I'm not
movie.
like, yeah. So it's always going to be like one of my favorite franchises to watch.
It's good. I did, because I think I only had ever really seen maybe only the first one. And then I was like, okay, I need to, especially if I'm doing the podcast, I need to watch everything. So I went through the whole thing. I absolutely hated the remake. I don't know if you've seen it, but I did not like
I
it.
have I have and it doesn't hold the same
No.
enjoyment. Like I didn't hate it, but I didn't
I
love it
don't
either.
like
You
how
know
they
what I mean?
like. I
It was
didn't
just
like
okay.
Freddy. Yeah. I didn't like Freddy in it. I was like, I didn't. I guess they were maybe going for a more like serious tone, but
Yeah, no,
I
they
don't
for sure
know.
were. They were trying to
Yeah.
make it like they were trying to make it scary again, and it's just
Yeah.
like I don't
His
know that they
face
did a
was
good
not
job of it.
scary. They could have done better
Yeah,
to make him scarier, I think, if they were trying to
yeah,
go for that.
yeah, for sure.
I think I guess like I said earlier, probably Scream is my favorite franchise. But it's kind of hard because the thing about like all the franchises is I do like all of them for their own different reasons. But I think like with Scream, for most of the movies I did actually like them, whereas in some other franchise when I go through all of them, there's a lot that I don't like out of them. Like I just finished going through the whole franchise of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there's only a very few of them that I actually like. I don't
That
know
makes
how
sense.
many of those you've seen, but like the
All of
original, of
them.
course. Okay, yeah. So the original's
Yeah, I've
good.
seen them all.
The second one is like what? It was a totally different. It was totally comedy horror, and I was like, "This is so weird." And I thought it was strange that it was the second one's actually directed by Toby Hooper as well, who did the first one, but it's a completely different movie, like
Right.
so different. And then like I liked the remake. Again, I think that might possibly be from my nostalgia of watching it because that's one of the also kind of first scarier movies I watched as a teen. And then then there was some recent ones where they were kind of like prequels I didn't really like. And then the most recent one that was in 2022, I thought I was going to hate it at first because of the fact that it's like a modern setting, and I didn't really love the characters, but I guess they don't want you to love them much because they're gonna die. But I didn't love the characters, but I did love all the kills in that movie, so it was fun to watch. And that one I did like, but the story, I think they were kind of trying to ride on the coattails of Halloween, where in the new ones, Laurie Strode comes back and it's original actress and everything. This one is not the original actress, but it's like, what is her name? Sally from the very first movie. She's back now. She survived and now she's coming back. So I think they were kind of trying to go for that. I don't think they did it quite as well as Halloween, but it was still fun to watch.
Yeah. No, I agree. It, like you said, though, it's not. It just wasn't your favorite.
Yeah. It was alright, but the kills were fun. I did like the kills in it because I think a lot of the Texas Chainsaw movies, you would think there would be more people dying by a chainsaw, I guess you could say.
Right.
And there's a lot is off screen or they didn't die by the chainsaw. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the name. It should make an appearance more than,
more than him just dancing behind the truck with the chainsaw for like 5 minutes in the first one.
Right.
But yeah, it's hard because I feel like, movies become franchises for a reason and then I end up liking all of them. But then, there's some that aren't the best.
It'd be that way.
Yeah, I guess not the writing isn't always on par when you make 10 different sequels. All right, so then is your favorite horror movie icon also Freddy, or do you have a different person that you like?
It's not. Believe it or not, it's Jason Voorhees.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I love Jason Voorhees. So the reason I love Jason Voorhees has nothing to do with horror movies. It actually has to do with Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
I fully fleshed out Jason Voorhees as a Dungeons and Dragons like bad guy, like his mask and his machete each. Like he wasn't a zombie, he was somebody that was possessed by, like he wasn't Jason Voorhees per se. He was possessed by the mask.
Okay.
So it was like in my brain, it was a cool theory. It never really played out in the game for me because we never finished the campaign. But like it's always been like one of my favorite. Like, yeah, he's my favorite. I mean, the only pop figure for horror that I own right now is the Jason Voorhees pop figure. It's like it's always the first one that pops into my brain.
Yeah. Well, Jason's a good character, so. It's a good one. Yeah, like as I said, I love Ghostface. I have to say my second favorite would probably be Michael Myers. It's hard for me to pick between those two. But, I've got Ghostface on my shirt. And obviously I got my new tattoo of Ghostface. So he's my friend. And I do have a pop figure of him also. How about... What's your favorite setting for a horror movie? Like, do you like abandoned forest, a haunted house, a creepy hospital? Like,
I have two different answers for that. My favorite setting for horror is usually an abandoned hospital or an insane asylum or something like that. But if you really want something that's going to scare me, underwater.
Okay.
I'm so terrified of suffocating that like anything underwater where if something goes even remotely wrong, you're going to drown.
Yeah. No, that is scary. That's like real life horror right there. Like
Yeah. So if I want to have a good time, it's usually like an abandoned hospital or something like that. If you genuinely want me to panic every time something goes wrong, underwater.
Okay. I can see that. Yeah, I think for me, I really like in the forest or a creepy cabin or house that's kind of out far, because what really scares me is you're at a house or whatever. Yeah, you're isolated. So no matter what, even if you fucking escaped, like, where are you going to run 40 miles to the fucking west to the city or something?
Right.
And I think a lot of scary movies, especially even, at the end of House of a Thousand Corpses or even Texas Chainsaw Massacre, although she gets away because the truck driver gets there. But like, what happens if you fucking escape, but then where are you going to go? Like, you're just in the middle of nowhere, and then the creepy ass people could still come find you again or whatever. So, yeah, I think that's, that scares me a lot, is like the isolation. But I do think that insane asylum stuff is really fun. There's a lot of fun movies with that. So I do like that too.
Yeah.
I can agree. That's a good setting. What is the scariest thing that you've ever watched?
I think I don't really think I have an answer for that question. Only
That's
because
okay.
like when I watch horror movies, I'm very hard to scare, you
Yeah.
know? Like so the scariest thing I've ever watched was not in a movie. It was something that happened in real life. So
Okay,
like
okay.
I can't like I'm not going to talk about it because it was gross.
Okay. Let's see. For me, well, so when I was
Okay. You know
younger, I
what?
would say it's that ring at the
I
ring part.
I
But
do apologize, Kelly. I am going to answer that. I
okay.
watched somebody cut one of their own teeth out.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That would
So
be
like
very scary.
it was the scariest thing I've ever seen, genuinely. And it wasn't like it was in real life. I was like 3 feet away from the dude, you know?
Oh my
Like
god, yeah. I would that would be
so
traumatizing,
yeah,
honestly.
so
I think like when I was younger, I definitely would have said The Ring was the scariest thing I've seen because, like I said, that shit is fucking scary and it has stuck with me. And the girl coming out of the TV, like all of it is very scary to me.
yeah. So
And
yeah,
yeah,
that's a good answer.
but then I think more currently, I would say Hereditary. So again, another suggestion to watch it if you want to be really scared. I think
I'll
because
probably watch it later.
yeah, it's really good. I think it's on some streaming thing right now. I don't remember which one it is, but it's there. But it's worth watching. I really loved it. It's fucking crazy. It's a good movie. And but what I was going to say earlier when you were talking about how like it's hard to scare you, especially someone who's really into horror movies, I think eventually you get a little bit desensitized to certain
Yeah.
things so that it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a scary concept, but I'm not actually scared, but that is
Right. Well,
spooky.
that's just it. Things can give me the heebie-jeebies.
Right.
Like I'm not necessarily going to be like, oh God, I'm going to have a nightmare now.
Right.
Like
Oh, I'm gonna sleep with my light on tonight.
right.
Yeah, definitely. I do think myself, if I'm watching something that's more like of the psychological horror stuff, that's when I get kind of freaked out where I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna like see something in the shadow, even though I know there's not stuff there, but then I'm like, oh my god, what if like there's eyes in the shadow or something, like so those are the type of movies that make me feel that way later in the night, not like okay I want to sleep with the light on, but then I'm like okay I can just imagine seeing some creepy ass shit in my closet because it's fucking dark in there and the rest of the room's not that dark.
Right.
That's I think the kind of stuff that makes me think like that sometimes. Have you seen, I think it was the first one, have you seen The Conjuring?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I
cool.
love those movies.
Okay,
I
so
love that
yeah,
whole universe. Like
yeah, I love those movies. I think it was the first one when there's like the girl up in the corner of the room. I forget if they like swing the camera or whatever, but that shit like freaked me out. I was like, oh my god, I'm always afraid. You're gonna like look in the mirror and then you're gonna see someone like up in the fucking corner of the room or something like in your reflection. Like that shit is freaky. I don't like looking in mirrors, and that's probably a big part of just watching lots of
I
scary
do.
movies. But but I'm always freaked out by like I know that I won't ever see any. I guess I don't know that, but in my mind, I'm like, there will never be anything creepy in the background of my mirror. But
Right.
at the same time, I'm like,
There's no
what if
guarantee,
there
baby.
is? Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so okay. What about? Do you have a favorite opening scene for a horror movie?
Yeah, the original It is my
Okay, yeah,
favorite. Like little
classic. It's so good.
yeah. It's always gonna be like when he's splashing down with the little paper boat and everything. I just loved it. I
It's
just
so
loved
good.
it.
It's really good. So I was having a really hard time coming up with one for this one, but for something that I've seen recently that I really, really love, the opening scene was actually the newest Final Destination movie, Bloodlines. I don't know
I
if
haven't
you've
seen it
seen
yet.
it. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't
it's
gone.
I don't 100% love the actual story much, but the opening scene was really good. And I think that's kind of universal with any of the Final Destination movies. The opening scene is obviously like amazing. So I'm going to go with that for now because yeah, I was having a really hard time coming up with one, especially cuz lately I've been watching obviously a lot of scary movies,
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
lot of them have really good opening scenes, that really, of course, it really draws you into the whole movie. So it's important to have a good opening scene, I think.
For sure. Yeah, especially like you said, for something like Final Destination, where it's all premonition based. If you watch those movies and you miss the opening scene, you're going to miss it. Like, you're not going to understand what's going. You'll understand
Exactly.
because they're not hard movies to follow, but
Right.
like, yeah,
It's definitely a good establishing moment,
yeah,
those opening scenes. Which I think too, in any like horror movie that's really good, that first scene is very important to establish either the world that we're going to be living in for the next hour and a half, or maybe who the killer is or whatever. So I think, yeah. Okay, I have a funny answer for this one. What's the weirdest horror movie that you've ever watched? And it could not necessarily be like super scary or anything, but something considered horror.
Attack of the Killer Foreheads.
Oh, all right, all right.
It was about an alien species that took over, like it was trying to take over the world, and they were literally just patches of skin that would like sit on people's. Yeah, it was weird. It was just a weird concept, and it wasn't even a good movie. It was just weird.
Just weird. My answer to that is it's called Rubber. Have you ever seen it? It's about a tire.
It sounds familiar off the top of my head. No.
It's about like a tire. I forget. I don't. It's been so long. I think I was really stoned when I watched it, so I don't remember it very well. But it's about a tire that like kills people, and I don't remember if it was like possessed or why the tire was killing people. But yeah, it was so weird and
It was no. We don't. You don't need Christine. We have Christine at home.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was weird, and yeah, it was. I know for a fact I was really stoned because my brother was. I think he like came over and we smoked and we're like, yeah, let's watch this weird ass movie. It's really stupid and weird, but it's gonna be funny because we're stoned. I was like, all right, let's watch it. We already kind of talked about the spooky thing that happened to you in real life, so I'll answer my answer for that. All right, so my answer to that is, so basically, when my dad passed away, so he passed away when he was overseas in Afghanistan. So when they bring his body back, now I'm forgetting what it's called. But anyways, basically, when like the military members die and then they bring them back, it's like on a special plane, and the coffin comes out and they're like wrapped in the flag and everything. So you watch the body coming back. So we went to do that, and then we were going to go to his funeral, I guess the next day or the day after. I forget. I guess it was the day after because they had the wake and all that stuff. But basically, well, I think it was either that first night or the second night, we were in our hotel over by Arlington Cemetery, which is where he's going to be buried. And so the phone rang in our hotel room, and my mom answered the phone, and she's just like, hello, hello. There's like nobody on the line. And then it would ring again. And then my mom kept answering the phone and just nobody on the phone. It rang again. And my husband was like, here, I'll just answer the phone. And be like, who is this? Like, hello. And no one was still on the end of the phone. And so basically what me and my brothers thought was that it was like our dad, that he wanted to talk to one of us maybe, but I kind of regret it, but like I was too scared to answer it. I was like really nervous and scared. I was like, what if it is? Like, I don't know. I was just really scared.
Yeah,
And
how do you explain that? Like, how do you explain hearing that to a room full of people? Yeah, no, I get that.
So I was like scared, and so I didn't want to answer it. And they're like, no, one of you guys answer it. And then, before we kind of like came to that conclusion, like we called my aunts and uncles and whoever else was around. And like, did you guys call like the hotel? And they're like, no, we don't even know where you're staying. And we're like, no, I guess that's true. And so, yeah. And so that's when we kind of like came up with the conclusion that maybe it was that, like he wanted to like say goodbye or something. But yeah, like me and my brothers were too afraid to do it. So then eventually the phone just stopped ringing, and that was that. But that was like,
Right.
I think the spookiest thing for me in real life, just because I don't know. don't know if I believe in ghosts or not, but to me that was weird. And then like there were a couple things, after he passed away that I was like, oh, maybe that's him. And so I was like, maybe I do believe in ghosts. I don't know. I can't tell. Before
I
I
do,
never
if it
really
makes you feel
did,
any
but
better.
yeah, so I was just like, I don't know what I believe, but because of that happening, I feel like I do because that there's no other really explanation for that. So, and then yeah,
Right.
so that's my spooky experience.
No, it's pretty. It's kind of similar to the one that I have too. So one of the first apartments that I ever lived in by myself, I got a really good deal on the apartment because the person who lived there before me passed away in the
Aha.
apartment. It wasn't like the day before I moved in or anything like
Right.
that, but I got a good deal on the rent for it, so I moved in, and like there was no like scariness or anything, but it was a little spooky. I had come home from work. I was sitting in the way it was set up is like the room was like right here, and I had the TV against one wall in the middle on like
Okay.
a swivel, so you could point it at either direction because the chair was over here and the couch was over here.
Okay.
Well, I sat in the chair. It was my favorite chair. I would sit in the chair after work and watch TV. I got up and went to use the bathroom one day, and I came in and sat down in the chair, and the TV was pointed at the couch, and it was on a different channel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
No.
it was on like soap operas specifically, which
Oh.
is what the person who lived there before me was reportedly watched all the time, So,
Oh my
and
god.
it was never like it's not like I experienced hauntings or anything like that. I
Right.
didn't. And there's plenty of reasons that it could have happened. The TV stand could have just moved. Like shit happens with those
Right.
crappy IKEA TV. Like,
Yeah, if it's like off
generic TV
balance or
stands
whatever.
and shit. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so like I just chalk it up to some weirdness, but I was like, okay.
That's a little spooky.
Yep, that's a
Yeah.
little spooky.
I'm a little bit scared now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like was it the second Conjuring movie where the old man used to watch the shit on the TV or whatever and sat in that one chair. And then I forget there was like a scene where like you could see like the chair like depressed down like he was sitting in it, but
Oh
you
yeah,
couldn't see
yep.
the guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Ugh. Spooky, spooky. Yeah, and see, I feel like it's weird because I watch so many scary things, but like not that many real spooky things actually have happened to me, which I guess I appreciate that they haven't happened to me in real life. I could
Right.
just watch it on the screen instead because I feel like I'm not a chicken when it comes to watching scary movies. I like watching them. I put them on purpose. I like scary things, but like that happening to me in real life, it was just the phone ringing and maybe it wasn't that, but I was genuinely scared. Like I did not want to answer it. And I was just like, in real life, I'm a big chicken, but if it's just on the TV, I'm fine.
Yeah.
If it's a movie, I'm good. But yeah, I think, when something makes you feel off and it's like the uncanniness, that's what's really scary because you feel scared down here. You're like, oh, okay. I'm a little bit scared now. What underrated, in your opinion, horror movie deserves more love than it really got?
See, I don't really know.
It's kind of
Because
hard.
a lot of the movies that I watch are like there's a series that I can give you an answer for. It's not a movie. The Friday the 13th series, where each episode. So are you familiar with the series at all?
I've never seen it, but I know of its existence.
Okay, so it wasn't anything like the movies. The series was about an antiques collector that collected haunted antiques. So each
Oh.
episode was about them acquiring a new haunted antique. And I think that
Oh.
was a really underrated show for the time that it was on. So I would have loved to see more about it. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
That sounds
So
interesting,
yeah,
actually, the
I guess I
premise.
do
I
have an
like
answer for
it.
that.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I had an answer for this now. I'm like blanking on the answer.
Right. Well, that's
um,
because it's so hard because like everybody has such a different preference when it comes to
right.
some things that like I might think like there's a movie called The Mad Butcher that I like. It was awful, but I loved it. It was
Right. Oh, I think I know one actually. And this, I only know of it being underrated secondhand because it's just from what I've heard. So there's a movie that I really like. It's called The Others. I don't know if you've seen it. It has Nicole Kidman in it. It's like a ghost movie,
Yeah,
basically.
I've seen it.
So it's really good, and the twist is very good. So I won't say that in case anyone wants to see it, because that twist is like, I forget who I watched it again with someone recently that was like, I saw that coming from a mile away, but I did not know that was going to be the twist when I very first watched it. So I thought it was a good twist, but
Right.
I guess that one, it wasn't as well like received when it first came out. So I think that one deserves more love because I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, I could say it. That's a great example of something that's underrated that should have been more well received than it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
good
mean,
shit.
I didn't see the twist coming when I first watched it. Well, here's a good one. What's and you might have already answered it with Terrifier, but you might have a different
Yeah.
answer too. Was what's a super popular movie that you don't see the hype, or like you didn't really like as much as like everybody says?
Yeah, no, Terrifier for
Yeah,
sure is my answer
that
for
makes
that. I
sense.
just and again, it's strictly just a preference thing. I'm sure it's cool. I just eh, all
Yeah,
right, whatever. You know.
yeah, it's all right. Yeah, for me, honestly, I kind of well, the one that first comes to my mind is the Malignant movie because everyone was like, it's such a great movie. And like all the commercials and everything was like, it's like the scariest thing in forever, whatever. And so I was excited
Was
to
it?
watch it. Yeah, I was like, okay, it wasn't really that scary. And I kind of was able to predict the twist as we kind of got farther in the movie that I was like, okay, like I think I know what's going on here. So I think I didn't really like it because like I think it's funny you called it the Voldemort movie because it does remind me of that too, totally.
Yeah.
And I was so not scared. I completely got taken out of it as soon as that was officially revealed that I was just like, no. So I didn't like it as much, and there was a lot of hype for that one. And a lot of people I know were like, oh, it's so good. So I was like, okay, I trust you. And then I didn't
You know
think it
what
was
I
that
can say for
good.
that movie though? Like I didn't really like the movie was all right, but I think they did a really good job showing the backwards movement,
Yeah,
if
I can
that
agree with
makes
that.
sense. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
Again,
I
I
can
didn't
agree with
care
that.
for the twist in it. Like I didn't care
Yeah.
for the concept of it, but I thought
Yeah.
the way that they showed everything backwards was cool.
Yeah, I can agree with that. That the cinematography on those parts of it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Only because it makes you think I can't you know, like in Lovecraftian horror, where there's things with elbows that shouldn't have elbows there,
Yeah.
and like shit like that. That's what
Yeah,
it made me think of, which is why I liked it so much in that
totally.
part.
Yeah, I can see that. Oh, we're almost done with our question. Oh, okay. I like this question a lot because I felt like since we're both artists, it'd be a fun question. So, if you
Right.
had to design a horror movie poster, what would it look like to you?
I hate crowded posters. Right.
Oh
Like
yeah,
when like I don't like things that have a ton of like I don't for example like the movie poster for Sinners, how it has the main character and then like the other characters all around it, and like everything's just like one big ball of characters. I'm not a big
yeah,
fan of that. I don't like the aesthetic of that kind of poster. So it would be if I were going to say design a movie, it would be like one concentration, like one focal point offset, because you can't have it dead center. It's got to be
no,
offset because it's
you
like
use that rule of
it's just
thirds,
that
man.
tiny little bit of like why'd they make that choice, you
Right?
know?
Why is
So
it so
but
symmetrical?
yeah, I think it was the movie poster for Gremlins. It was just a little box with like a little creepy, like just like three fingers coming out of the box, like of the monster hand. And it
Yeah,
wasn't even like the box. The monsters didn't even come from the box. The Mogwai
right.
did, you know. Like
Exactly.
so, it was just like, but it was just offset to the side, and it would be something like that, something simplistic, and then like the big bold letters on the top with the creepy font. And yeah,
Perfect. I love it. Yeah, I do agree, and I learned more about it doing like some of my art classes too about the rule of thirds, and that it's much more appealing having something on that plane of not being in the center, but like on one of the thirds pieces, that makes it like more appealing. And I agree. So, because
No, see,
definitely, I mean,
I didn't know what that was called. I just know that
yeah,
in my brain that was better.
yes, and see, and it's an official thing, and I didn't know it was official either until like I don't know, maybe last semester or something. I learned about it in my photography class, and then in another class, it was talking about it when you're just learning about making a composition and making it like appealing. And I was like, oh, that makes more sense, and that's why when I'm actually like taking pictures of my kids and stuff, I always have them off center a little bit. And because I just always thought that looked better. And then I'm like, okay, there's a reason why, apparently.
Right.
So yeah, I would definitely have something offset as well. And I really like when things are like concealed in shadow. I just feel like it makes you want to know what is happening or what it's about. So I feel like it kind of like would draw you in to be like, ooh, why is this person only half of their face you can see or whatever?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, and I learned this in my class that was about colors, that a lot of movies use the orange and blue color scheme in their posters because obviously they make each other pop from being like complementary. So I think I would stray away from that because I would want it to be unique from like mainstream stuff. So I would have stuff obscured in shadow, but I would try and have like some sort of like a limited color palette, but avoiding blue and orange so that it's not like every other
Okay.
movie. Because I think like
I,
if I remember, there was this for the Sinners poster. I think it's heavy in orange, if I remember
yeah.
right,
Oh
or
yeah.
maybe
Super heavy. It's
yeah,
it's either orange or yellow. I don't
yeah.
remember exactly. It was a great movie though.
I know I haven't seen it yet. I need to see it.
Oh, it's
I've
super
heard it's
good. You
very
should.
good.
Yeah, it's super good. I
Yeah,
loved it,
so
and
it's on my
it
list.
wasn't scary to me. Okay, spoilers. Yes, it is vampires, but
Yeah.
it's not scary vampires to me. It's more like sinister vampires. Like
Okay.
they're just it's just like an evil group. It's
Yeah.
not like and of course there's like the supernatural aspect of it and everything, but like there's parts in that movie that have nothing to do with like the scary parts that I just fell in love with. And
Okay.
when you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't want to ruin it for you by telling you because it was an
Okay.
unexpected thing that happened in the movie. So,
Okay. Well, I'll probably watch it very soon, anyways, because I've had multiple people are like, "You haven't seen it yet."
yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
so good.
I
It's so
have
good.
like a million movies on my list. Don't worry, it's on the list. But I do want to see it because I don't want anyone else to spoil it for me.
Right.
Because yeah, and then also I think the other new one that recently came out, I haven't seen yet either. It's called Bring Her Back, but I've heard it's very good and very scary. And it's made by, I think it's an A24 movie. They always make good horror movies. So I'm like, usually you guys don't disappoint me.
I was trying to think of if I've seen it or not. I don't even think I've seen like heard of it. I'm a little out of the loop right now. Like
It's okay. But yeah, well, thank you so much for talking to me, having this conversation. It was fun. I love always talking about spooky, everything spooky. And actually, have you seen the movie It Follows?
that was going to be my original answer for the underrated horror movie.
It's so good. That
It's
is a good
such a
underrated
good
one.
movie.
It's good.
I loved it.
It's really good. I'm actually for my episode about sound design, I actually have the dude who did the sound design for that movie that I'm going
Oh,
to talk
nice.
to.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So, thank you so much Chuck for joining me talking all things spooky, and I'm glad our listeners now get to know you and I a little bit better, especially cuz you'll be here with me hopefully often. And then lastly, if anybody wants to find you for like Twitch or TikTok or anything or see what you got going on, is there somewhere that they can find you?
Yeah, it's all Chuck versus underscore on Twitch and TikTok. That's really all I mean, I have other stuff going on, but it's not happening yet. So
Okay.
like
Perfect. Well, they
those
can
are the
keep
big
up with you
ones.
on there. Great. Perfect. And I can put that in the show notes too. So if anyone wants to, please follow my friend. He's really awesome and he makes cool content, cool art. Yes. And he's fun to watch streaming because he's awesome. So definitely follow
Thank you.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for
But
having me. This was really
yeah.
fun. Thank you.
Yes, of course, of course. And I hope to have you on here more too.
For sure.
Awesome.
Well, class, that's the end of our very first episode of Screamology. Thank you so much for joining us, and I really hope you enjoyed listening to our chat. Don't hesitate to reach out to us at any time. If you want to find us on social media, you can find us with our handle, which is @ScreamologyPod. But if you prefer to email, I also have an email for you. It's going to be screamologypod@gmail.com. I'm really looking forward to engaging with all of you and growing our love of horror together. I can't wait to hear your comments. Thanks for keeping it real with me. See ya.